So it's time for my annual report on Sunday's paper bag nativity pageant. For those unfamiliar, we do a no rehearsal, no stress, no mistakes nativity pageant here the Sunday before Christmas Eve. We line the aisles with brown paper grocery bags. People pick a costume out of a bag and join the story as it is being told, or even better, we've started a tradition where kids are invited to re-wear their Halloween costumes, or just dress up however they want, because as we like to say, all are welcome at our stable. And I have a tradition now of reporting to you how things went. Well, things started off a little rough this year. Mary's little donkey was MIA. We have a great little furry donkey suit, but apparently no one of the right size wanted to wear it. So Mary was going to have to walk the whole way to Bethlehem in her 9th month of pregnancy. But then a beautiful cow in a dramatic black velvet cape volunteered. At the very same moment that a donkey of a certain age with wonderful floppy ears also volunteered. In retrospect, the elder donkey may actually have been a camel, I'm not sure. But either way, Mary and Joseph were well supported on their way, and I reminded everyone that animals of a certain age are not expected to get down on the floor and crawl if getting back up again is a hardship, because ours is a no-suffering pageant. A large and very diverse crowd gathered in the stable to attend to the birth of the baby this year. Incredi-Girl swooped in, as did a small purple monster of some kind who sat on my lap for a while in order to see better. There were 2 princesses, one blue and one pink. Also, Harry Potter's friend Hermione was there, a small snow leopard, 2 large bears, and a medium-sized bionic rabbit. I know that there were others because the staff took a census in keeping with the emperor's demands, but I lost the index card we wrote everything down on. Baby Jesus was content in Mary and then Joseph's arms and chewed on teething toys because she is getting teeth already so soon after birth. One tiny star started crying, but once her parent joined her, she was okay again and continued to shine on the story. This year was especially poignant. As many of you know, one of our beloved elders, Barbara Rich, died last Tuesday. Barbara was the innkeeper in the pageant for at least 10 years, totally hammed it up, loved it. And I wasn't sure what in the world we would do about her absence. Leave the innkeeper spot empty? Have Mary and Joseph stumble upon the stable themselves? It didn't feel right. Making room for the soon-to-be parents, even though there was no room at the inn, is one of the most important parts of the story. Really, the entire story hinges on that innkeeper saying, you know what? We'll find a space for you. And especially right now when our country is so focused on not making room, I felt like we couldn't leave that part out. The problem solved itself. I'd forgotten that 2 years ago we accidentally had 2 innkeepers, when one of the congregation's young adults exuberantly jumped up to answer the door, not realizing that Barbara was already doing it. So of course we just improvised. After all, innkeeping is one of those jobs that never goes on vacation. So of course an innkeeper needs an apprentice. So this week the apprentice messaged me saying that she would be honored to take over management of the inn, and so she did. And then on Monday night, another of our beloved elders, Suzanne Nelson, died, also unexpectedly. This was Suzanne's favorite night of the year. She was our light cue person, probably for the last 2 decades. She took the job so seriously. She came early. She brought a sandwich for her dinner and a cup of tea. She stayed for both services. And tonight, 2 of her dearest friends are taking over the job in her honor. We're not the same without them. How could we be the same? Love and loss are intertwined in this life. And love does not disappear. Love remains, and love changes things. Love changes us. And love makes it possible to do hard things, which is what the story we are remembering tonight is all about, of course. The story of the birth of Jesus is a story about hard things, even though it's so often portrayed as peaceful and serene and snow-covered, despite the fact that it never snows in Palestine. Not that truth is really the issue here, at least in the sense of historical accuracy. Unlike some of the other parts of the Gospels, there's no historical basis for the nativity story. There's certainly no evidence. In fact, most biblical scholars believe the Christmas story was a late addition to earlier versions of the Gospels of Matthew and Luke, that it wasn't added until sometime in the 2nd century as the church was developing and spreading, and it was added in order to give Jesus better credentials, to set him apart right from the beginning by attaching signs and portents and miracles to his birth story. But as we know, there are other kinds of truths than historical accuracy. And this story has a lot of truth in it. Mary gives birth in a room full of animals a long way from home after walking 90 miles from Nazareth to Bethlehem for a mandatory registration tax imposed by a tyrannical Roman occupier who wants more money to fund his armies and build his empire. There are always those who will govern through fear and exploitation in order to expand their power and control those who would resist them. That's one of the truths of the story. And another truth is that new life comes into this world under the most difficult of circumstances. Tonight, women are going into labor in refugee camps. They are giving birth in Ukraine, where the Russian drone and missile attacks on Ukrainian cities have intensified and the power grid is almost completely destroyed, so it is cold and dark. In this country, parents wait for the arrival of their newborns in crowded motels turned into homeless shelters, in immigration detention centers where thousands of people are being held without regard for their legal or citizenship status. But babies are still getting born. New life is still happening. And maybe it is all the more beautiful and precious when it comes in the hardest places. The poet Jan Richardson says that the blessings usually come from the hardest places. And they come right alongside the sorrow and the struggle and the loss. She says those holes in our hearts are precisely where the light shines through. Call the piercing a star. Call it the place where the light begins. Call it the point that tethers us to this sheltering sky. Call it the hope that keeps holding us to this broken, blessed earth, that keeps turning us toward this luminous world. That baby grew up to live a life that was all about hope. It was all about compassion and inclusive, unlimited love, especially for the people who his society, much like our own, considered broken. The outcast, the marginalized, the disenfranchised. He saw those people as whole. He taught that power does not have to look like tyranny, and that the way forward, the only way forward, is love. It always has been love, and we need to hold on to that no matter what. The brokenness of this world, of this country, of our own lives, is not what defines us. It is real, and the pain is real too. But as long as we are here, under this sheltering sky, healing is possible. It is not too late. The ending has not yet been written, and as long as we keep turning toward love, another ending is possible. So I ask you to choose again tonight to be gentle. To be gentle with yourself, with the imperfect people you love, with the world as fragile and flawed as it is. Let's light candles in the darkness and choose to believe again that the ending to this story is love. Let's choose to believe again that another world is not only possible, she is already on her way.